I am done taking blame for an exaggerated action that I did not do. I am done taking blame for some damaged person's non-checked hypervigilance and demonization practices. I'm done holding out hope that you'll wake up and realize what's right in front of you. You pushed a good man who would have done almost anything for you and tried to prove it away. No therapist worth their salt would suggest cutting off communication unless you made them think that I'm the narcissist, which is a classic narcissist move. I do not blame myself for anything anymore that I did with her, because I know fundamentally that I handled this situation far better than probably any other guy would have in my position. So one of the things my partner brought up, and I get it, she was like, Dan, I just don't get it. She's like, how, you guys were only together for this long. She's like, how did someone have that much power over you? And she's like, she's not even like highly physically attractive or anything. Like, she's like, I just don't understand. So I told her, I was like, imagine you have a partner of 4 years and you've started planning your life together and realizing she could be a life partner. You both plan on moving to Ireland together. She's got all her finances in order, debt paid off, etc., to start building a real future. Then she dies suddenly. You grieve for 5 months. Then you decide it's time to get back out there, which is way too soon, admittedly. You decide to make yourself emotionally vulnerable for the next person and share everything with them. You've never actually gone actively looking for a life partner before. Past partners have always approached you first. So you create a profile on a dating app field, putting everything you're looking for in the profile, being upfront about the death of your partner and that you know she can't ever be replaced. And you understand that and wouldn't be expecting that out of another partner. Now imagine that after 2 days of matches and talking to people, none of whom you have a real interest in, someone matches you. You read a profile, it looks good. It looks like you're what you're looking for. She likes what she sees as well. You meet up, hit it off immediately, or sexually compatible. She's the first woman you've ever felt physically safe with because of her physicality and skill sets. You both have commonality in backgrounds and appreciate what you have, and you fall for her hard, unlike you've ever fallen for anyone else in your life. You never thought that you'd meet someone like this person. She's not overly physically attractive, but you don't care about that stuff. You don't really believe in the concept of soulmates or anything like that, and you really don't believe in an afterlife, even though you hope there is one. However, you start actually thinking that maybe the universe brought you both together, and even though she lives kind of far away and has a hectic schedule, you do everything you can to work around that schedule since you have 100% flexibility. You're proud of how far she's come in her life and are proud to be with her regardless of the physical attraction differences between both of you. You both realize that you're both total switches and love taboo-style kinks. So you trust her implicitly with the most vulnerable thing a man can do for a woman, and this bonds you even harder for this person. You realize that you would do almost anything for her. She puts on a show that took months and months of prep work that you've helped with where you could. You supported her and everyone there the day of the show and the day before as much as you could. Then afterwards, you clap her on the back and congratulate her. She rolls around and retorts. You think she's just giving you crap, since by all accounts, she's just as strong and confident of an individual as you are, so you talk some shit back. Then she blows up, makes it seem like everything's your fault. You take all of the blame out of concern for her well-being because you think it's a triggered response, trying to make amends, but then she cuts off all communication, demonizes you to her friends, gaslights you into thinking you actually did something wrong and might not be the person you think you are. You end up questioning everything you are, wondering if you might be a bad type of person, and finally have to get into therapy for it. Damn the expense. Yeah, that's what it's like when a narcissist doesn't have insight or empathy and can't control their own shit. All right, this YouTube video will explore the topic of Narcissistic Personality Disorder, or NPD, and how individuals with this condition struggle to empathize with others and take responsibility for their actions. While most people have some narcissistic tendencies, it is estimated that I believe 2% of the population have narcissistic personality disorder, which is extremely damaging to themselves and others. Attempts to confront a narcissist about their behavior are often met with defensiveness, denial, or aggression, making it difficult to engage them in a meaningful self-reflection. However, it is possible for narcissists to change through intensive therapy and lifelong commitment. The video will delve into the reasons why a narcissist may repeatedly read an email that is critical of them, exploring both healthy and unhealthy motivations. This is going to be a fairly long and informative video. The aim of this video is to share knowledge and foster healthy discussions around this topic. So without further ado, here we go. All right, let's do this. So several more days have gone by and doing better and better every day, which is good. And, seeking closure in myself for this last narcissistic relationship that I was in. And, wasn't very narcissistic until the end. And then, but looking back, she's a narcissist. So actual narcissist, which sucks. I feel bad for her, but I can't help her. I'm not a counselor, and she wouldn't want my help anyway, I'm sure. So anyways, I wrote this thing out. So I called it Understanding Narcissism, Insights into Human Behavior and Motivations. So I will preface this with the fact that I'm admittedly a person who has an incessant need to understand human behavior, why people do what they do, their motivations and drives, and how things actually work in the real world. So while I do not enjoy ruminating on this particular topic, and this is very likely the last post I'll make about this topic, I think it's important to try and use social media in a positive way to share knowledge and opinions based on data and foster healthy discussions. This post is also part of finally seeking closure within myself, as discussed further down. In a single case study, which is my ex, I've seen what appears to be a true narcissist read and reread an email I sent to them explaining what they did, how they made me feel, and the harm they caused themselves and others by their actions and behaviors. It was a futile attempt, of course, but it did it for me. On further study and research, it has given some insight into how these types of people work. I've learned a lot from this experience. While most of us do have some narcissistic tendencies, including myself, and I tamp that down, there's around 2% estimated of the population who are actual narcissists classified, and about, I believe it's 0.5% of the population that are classified as actually having narcissistic personality disorder. So there are, it's estimated that there are about 2% of the population that have narcissistic personality disorder, but only about 0.5% of the population, if I'm remembering correctly, has been formally diagnosed with it. So it's extremely damaging to themselves and others. Narcissistic personality disorder is a complex and deeply ingrained condition that affects an individual's ability to empathize with others and take responsibility for their actions. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-5, individuals with narcissistic personality disorder tend to have a grandiose sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, and a tendency to exploit others for their own personal gain. They also have a fragile sense of self-esteem that requires constant validation and admiration from others. Given these traits, it can be difficult to engage narcissists in meaningful self-reflection or discussion about the behavior. In fact, attempts to confront a narcissist about their actions will often be met with defensiveness, denial, or even in the worst cases, aggression. It is important to recognize that true narcissists are made and not born through their negative experiences with society and exposure to actual narcissists. True narcissists, according to the studies we have, will almost never change. And it appears that those who do change end up telling their friends who they are, what they're struggling with, and seek support from them to check their behavior and watch out for possible reactions and behaviors that are based on their narcissism. They also get into intensive therapy and commit to lifelong change in positive ways. Unfortunately, this is extremely rare, but it does happen. There is one example I found on YouTube. The guy is diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder. Now, what happened with him, basic rundown, is he was having an argument with his wife, and she left. And as she was leaving, she was like, "It's so getting hard to be with a narcissist," and slammed the door. And he was like, "You're the narcissist." And then he didn't know what that was. So he looked it up and he realized, oh, this is me. This isn't good. So he got into psychotherapy, intensive psychotherapy. His wife ended up leaving him, but he continued in psychotherapy because he was doing it for himself and not for another person. He ended up, his wife ended up coming back, I guess, a couple of years later or a year later or whatever. And so apparently they're still married today, and he is constantly working on it. So he, there's a ton of downsides. He said the worst part of it is that he is always second guessing himself as far as feeling insecure around everyone. He said the only real advantage is that he can make decisions that where a lot of people might get their emotions involved and maybe not make the most objective decision. He doesn't have any empathy, so he's able to make that decision objectively. So, but that's the only strength. So that blows. So the cons far outweigh the positives by a lot. So when you send an email to someone, you can request read receipts. The problem with these is that the recipient has to allow read receipts to be sent back. There are other free services out there which will allow you to track when an email was opened and how long it was read for. This is usually useful for market purposes, for research, but can also give some insight into human behavior. So I had this email tracked, free service, and because I wanted to test and see kind of what was going on with her for real, not what she wouldn't tell me or what someone else won't tell me, and see if she behaved in a typical narcissistic manner when she got that email. So, anyone who's been broken up with or broke up with somebody else who all evidence points to being a true narcissist might send an email to express what that person did to them, how it made them feel, in an attempt to get across to them how their actions negatively impact themselves and others, and try to get them to see how their behavior will ensure that they spend the last 20 to 30 years of their lives truly alone without committed relationships. A lot of times with full-on narcissists, if they do sometimes attract other people that are narcissists, which, boy, that's a recipe for disaster. They feed off each other. But more than often, the people that would have been their actual friends end up realizing what's going on and leaving. Even if they don't recognize that they're a narcissist and that's the problem, because you would think that they would be like, you're a narcissist, you need help. I would hope any friend of mine would do that. But like I said, I've gone through the assessments. I'm objectively not a narcissist, which was a huge relief because I thought I might be. And I thought maybe I was projecting all this stuff on her. I'm not a narcissist. That's good. So, I do have narcissistic tendencies just like anybody else. That's part of our evolution and survival, but I overcome that. So I overcome that through self-reflection, insight, surrounding myself with friends of different educational and life experience backgrounds that aren't afraid to check me when I get out of line. Happened online the other day. Someone asked me about something and I responded and I answered, but then I made a post that was about myself. And one of my friends called me out immediately. Like, he's like, and he did it in a humorous way. And I was like, crap, he's right. Totally right. So admitted it, moved on, answered the question like I should have, and then moved on. And that's how you do this in a healthy way. But anyways. Okay, so anyone who's been broken up with or broke up with somebody who all evidence points to being a true narcissist might send an email to express what that person did to them, how they made them feel, and attempt to get across to them how their actions negatively impact themselves and others. Okay, it is worth noting that the sender may never get a response back, as narcissists will often give the silent treatment as a way to abuse and feel like they are in control. And that's what she did. She did the silent treatment. She did respond to my last email. She said, I'm still willing to come meet with you and your counselor or your therapist to clear the air. Whenever someone like that says that they are there to clear the air, what they're going to do is they're going to come into the session. They're going to hijack the session or try to hijack the session. They're going to make everything all about themselves and basically make you look like you're the problem and not them. Well, we've got all this evidence now. She's the problem and she's the only problem. So it just is what it is. We can offer some general insights into why someone might repeatedly read an email that is critical of them or addresses a painful issue, because she's read the email repeatedly. I want to say like 30 times. It's a lot. Here's some reasons why the person is doing this. Let's start with healthy, non-narcissistic reasons they might keep rereading your email, then delve into the unhealthy reasons so we can understand what is going on. Because that's the thing. There are healthy reasons to read and reread an email, obviously, and we'll get into that. So in some cases, a person may repeatedly read an email that is critical of them because they are trying to understand the other person's perspective or to make sense of their own feelings. They may be searching for clues or insights that can help them improve their behavior or avoid similar situations in the future. This is not necessarily related to narcissism, but rather a normal human reaction to feedback or criticism. It is also possible that a narcissist might keep reading an email sent to them repeatedly for reasons other than their narcissism. It could be that the content of the email has touched on an emotional issue that they're struggling to come to terms with. Guarantee you, she has some emotional issues she's struggling to come to terms with. Either that or she's in completely denial and thinks she's totally fine. So, and that's the thing, she's successful financially. Narcissists usually are. Because again, they lack the empathy, so they're able to make, especially when it comes to business, they're able to make judgments without getting their feelings involved, and it makes them more money. So it is what it is. So whether or not she has her narcissism to thank for her success, I would like to think that's not the cause of her success, but that can definitely contribute. So there's plenty of successful people that are not narcissists. So, to say that narcissism is a drive to success financially, there's an argument to be made that it can help for sure. But, you also got to get into therapy. And if you're going to have a relationship with people, maybe, I don't know, try to change, gain some insight, stuff like that. Maybe listen to people when they're like, something's wrong with you. Can't quite put my finger on it. Anyways. So unhealthily, individuals with narcissism have difficulty accepting responsibility for their actions and are prone to denial or defensiveness. They may repeatedly read an email that is critical of them as a way of reinforcing their own perspective or dismissing the other person's feelings as invalid or exaggerated. This is related to the narcissistic trait of lacking empathy and prioritizing one's own feelings and beliefs over those of others. They may be seeking validation or trying to find any perceived weaknesses in your argument to exploit. In her case, good luck. Narcissists often have a strong need for control and power, so they may keep revisiting the email to ensure that they have control over the situation. It is important to remember that they never actually had any control you didn't freely give them out of a false sense of safety and trust. You can take that control back in a heartbeat, and you got to remember that. So the competition that she put on, from all accounts and from everything that I remember, pretty sure she did that to spite some people that had basically pointed out that she'd done a cycle of SARMs and like some other stuff. And they kind of, it was crappy. I saw the text and it was a really crappy thing that they said. But she was ruminating on that, clearly, because she still had the text saved, which I should have picked up on that, because why would you save criticisms of yourself like that and keep on revisiting them unless there's a problem? Like, clearly you don't have enough self-confidence to realize, oh, well, I'm not this way. They're entitled to their opinion. It is what it is. We're moving on. That's what a healthy person does. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, I will put all my sources in the description. So you guys can look this up yourself. It's true. Additionally, narcissists often struggle with empathy, and so they likely may not fully comprehend the impact of their behavior on others. Therefore, they may read the email repeatedly in an attempt to understand your perspective and how their actions contributed to the situation. It is also possible that they may be trying to analyze the email to figure out how to respond in a way that maintains their self-image as superior or blameless. Now, this gets into the darker side of things. Only my ex, her in this case, can know why she keeps rereading this email, right? But on the dark side of things, and this happens, they may be seeking validation by rereading the email and reliving the emotional impact it had on you. This is what they do. So really, really dark stuff. It's really harmful for them. It's worth noting that these are generalizations and every individual and situation is unique. It is also worth noting that if you're concerned about someone's behavior or motivations, it may be helpful to seek guidance from a mental health professional or other trusted resource. Remember that we cannot control another person's behavior. And that's why I got into therapy. I was like, I need closure. I'm never going to get it from her. She's never going to tell me, and she probably doesn't even know why she did what she did. She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. She probably never will. So it just is what it is. Okay, so it can be challenging to communicate effectively with a narcissist as they tend to be focused on their own needs and desires rather than those of others. While there is no studied and guaranteed way to get a narcissist to change, there are some strategies that may be helpful in managing interactions with them. And I did try to use these in my emails. Use I statements. When talking to a narcissist, it's important to focus on your own feelings and experiences rather than blaming or accusing them. For example, instead of saying, you always make everything about you, you could say, I feel ignored and unimportant when you don't listen to my needs. Stay calm. Narcissists can be quick to anger or become defensive when confronted with criticism. So it is important to stay calm and avoid getting into a shouting match or an argument. Provide concrete examples. It can be helpful to provide specific examples of how their behavior has hurt you or others. This can help them see the impact of their actions more clearly. Offer positive reinforcement. Narcissists respond well to praise and positive reinforcement, so it can be helpful to offer encouragement when they do show empathy or consideration for others. Set clear boundaries. If the narcissist continues to engage in harmful behavior, it may be necessary to set clear boundaries for yourself and consequences for their actions. Avoid engaging in power struggles. It is important to avoid engaging in power struggles with a narcissist because it can lead to further manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional harm. Narcissists thrive on control and attention, and engaging in power struggles only feeds into their need for dominance and validation. Additionally, narcissists are often skilled at manipulating situations to make themselves look good and others look bad. She did that brilliantly, which can lead to further harm to the person engaging in the power struggle. According to a licensed clinical psychologist and author of Don't You Know Who I Am? How to Stay Sane in an Era of Narcissism, Entitlement, and Invincibility, a power struggle with a narcissist is a no-win situation because narcissists don't play fair. They change the rules, they move the goalposts, and are willing to do whatever it takes to win. A study published in the Journal of Personality Disorders, Theory, Research, and Treatment found that individuals with Narcissistic Personality Disorder, or NPD, exhibited a heightened sensitivity to criticism and were more likely to engage in retaliatory behavior when they felt threatened or criticized. So, she felt embarrassed. That's her problem. I did nothing that would embarrass a normal, healthy person. She cut off all communication. She blocked me on Instagram, as far as I know. I didn't really look into it because I really didn't care at the time. I was worried about her feelings and emotions and all that stuff. I even reached out to her friends about it, but I'm sure they thought I was attacking her because some people are just basic and they don't get it. They just don't have that background. So this suggests that engaging in power struggles with the narcissist can lead to further emotional harm and retaliation. Overall, it is important to set boundaries for yourself, practice self-care, and seek professional help when dealing with a narcissist. Engaging in power struggles is unlikely to lead to a positive outcome and can instead lead to further emotional harm. Seek support from a therapist, support group, or both. It is important to seek support from a therapist, support group, or both when dealing with a narcissist because it can help you establish boundaries for yourself, develop coping strategies, and work through the emotional trauma caused by the relationship. These resources can also provide validation and support, which can be essential for healing and moving forward. According to the American Psychological Association, or APA, therapy can be an effective tool for individuals dealing with the effects of narcissistic abuse. A therapist can provide a safe and supportive environment to explore the emotional impact of the relationship, develop coping strategies, and work on rebuilding self-esteem and self-worth. So in my particular case, I have a very broad skill set. I'm extremely confident. I know exactly where I stand. I know where my strengths and weaknesses lie. I know, I am a solution-focused person. So I've taken a ton of different assessments to see where I am because I want to know where I stand in the general population realistically. I know where I stand. So in my case, my self-esteem and self-worth, not damaged at all. I had to realize that I'm a much stronger person than she is just for the fact that I was able to take all that blame and all of it and admit fault and then try to make amends, where she didn't, and probably never can. She probably just can't. It's just who she is. She's a very, very broken, toxic person when it comes to that stuff. So it's from what all evidence suggests. And that's, she's the only one that can answer whether or not she really is. But at this point, I doubt she could even be honest with herself. She probably has almost zero insight. I can see patterns in the past where she was struggling to have insight and she was working on herself. But at the end of the day, this is probably the root cause of all of the reasons why she felt like she needed to work on herself. That's probably one reason why she felt the need to read the book, Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life, by Marshall B. Rosenberg. It's a great book. I've read it. I'm usually okay at using nonviolent communication, but there are periods of time when it's not appropriate and you need to use violent communication. So I definitely did that with her out of frustration, but I do not blame myself for anything anymore that I did with her because I know fundamentally that I handled this situation far better than probably any other guy would have in my position. Far better. So it just is what it is. She doesn't see that. She never will. And that's on her. It's not my problem anymore. I am free of that toxicity in my life. And I will never get with another person like that again. In addition, support groups can be helpful for individuals who feel isolated and alone in their experiences. Support groups provide a headspace for individuals to connect with others who have had similar experiences, share stories and advice, and provide validation and support. And it's interesting, now that I've gone through this experience, other people have come out of the woodwork and shared their own experiences with this kind of stuff. So it happens. A lot of people don't want to talk about it because it's so damaging. They don't want to relive it. They don't want to bring it up. They just want to move forward. They want to cut off the narcissistic supply of that individual. Because here's the other thing. The fact that she's rereading that last email that I sent her over and over and over and over again, if it is for unhealthy reasons and not for healthy reasons, which, like I said, only she can answer that. And I, can't say for sure which is which, but I can almost guarantee you that what she's also doing is reading the prior email that I sent before I ran into her at Reggae Rise Up and had that interaction where she just looked at me, said no, and then walked away like she's a victim or something. Because my email prior to that was a tone much more caring, much more like, let's try to work through this. Let's get back together. I was very careful not to say, let's get back together or anything, because I can't have that kind of toxicity in my life without a commitment to change, proof of a commitment to change, and proof that they are changing. And like I said, that would be telling all her friends that she's a narcissist, going to psychotherapy, proving that she's going to psychotherapy and not just telling it. She would be communicating with me, apologizing, telling me that she's working on herself, and then showing it. Showing a pattern of that. But it takes years. It usually takes years, and it's usually a lifelong commitment. So that's unfortunate. It's terrible stuff, man. And I feel for these people because they'll always be alone. They'll always be alone, or they'll get with another narcissist and just feed off each other and just be a total disaster in life. All right. A study published in the journal Psychotherapy found that individuals who participated in group therapy for narcissistic abuse experienced a significant reduction in symptoms of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. The study also found that group therapy provided a safe and supportive environment for individuals to process their experiences and develop coping strategies. Overall, seeking support from a therapist, support group, or both can be an essential step in healing from the emotional trauma caused by a relationship with a narcissist. So, with me, the perseveration and rumination has almost all but stopped. Whenever I think about it now, it's more in a, I'm going to post this as a warning to others. It's not a constant background noise. I've had to learn to accept that she just is that way. She will never change, and I can't help her, so I'm not going to keep worrying about it because I can't. And as someone with empathy, that's extremely difficult to do. So you just have to understand that these people they're not like you. They're not human on that level. They're very inhuman when it comes to empathy and all that stuff. They are literally like machines, robots. They just can't grasp it. It'd be like trying to teach a computer right now how to feel or love. You can't. And what they think is love is romantic love. It's not actual love. So as soon as you do something to embarrass them or make them angry, a switch flips in their head and they no longer love you. And it just is what it is. They can say they love you all they want. They don't, because they don't actually know what love is. There's a reason she's 41, never been married. Don't believe she'd ever had a relationship more than 2 years. Those are two giant red flags right there. So, and had been with other narcissists. Also a giant red flag, because yes, some people get with narcissists who aren't narcissists. That does happen. But if someone has been with a narcissist, there is a good chance that they may have adopted some of those narcissistic traits to protect themselves in the future. And with her, I think it's even beyond that. Like I said, I thought it was a trauma response combined with adopting narcissistic traits. Now I'm thinking it's probably actual narcissism, like pure and simple narcissistic personality disorder. So it is what it is. And like I said, only she can answer that question, and she probably never will, because she probably doesn't know. It is important to recognize that not all narcissists are capable of change. Indeed, it does seem from the data that most narcissists are not capable of change. Many may resist efforts to help them see the impact of their behavior on others. She resisted every single attempt I made to help her, because I tried to get her to get help on multiple occasions. I even hand wrote her a letter, went way out of my way to try to help this person. And she'll never get help. She says she's in therapy, but like I said, between what I've noticed and what my therapist has seen, She's like, Dan, she's probably not in therapy. She's probably just completely lying to you. She's using this as another way to, say that you're the problem or whatever. Lots of mental gymnastics going on there. It is also unlikely there is anything you can say to a true narcissist who will get them to fully understand the impact of their behavior and the need to change. It is important to remember that you cannot control another person's behavior or emotions. However, you can take steps to prioritize your own well-being and seek out resources and support to help you cope with the impact of narcissistic behavior. Now, how to deal with a lack of closure? Big one for me, because I'm not going to get closure from her ever. So I had to accept that, realize that, figure out how to get closure. So dealing with a lack of closure from a narcissistic relationship can be challenging and emotionally taxing, not only on you, but also your next partner. It has been emotionally challenging and taxing on my partner. Now, she understands it and she refuses to let this impact our relationship, which I totally respect and appreciate. And I have done my best not to continue ruminating about it in front of her, and not to bring that up. But we have discussed that does weigh on it a little bit, but that's going away. And, we're able to move forward in a healthy way. Like I said, we do have some incompatibilities that we're working through, but, who knows? Who knows what will happen? Hey, we're trying to keep all our options open. At some point, maybe each of us will have another partner and we'll all four live in my house. Who knows? So you just don't know what the future's going to hold. I'm open for anything at this point. All right. So some ways to deal with the lack of closure and rationalize the situation. Accept the reality. It is important to accept that the relationship is over and the narcissist is unlikely to provide closure. Narcissists are often unwilling to provide closure or discuss their feelings, so it is unrealistic to expect closure from them. Even if the narcissist is willing to meet with you and a therapist to quote unquote clear the air like she was, that is about further abuse and control, and they will simply attempt to hijack the session and make it all about them. Worst case, they will try to manipulate the therapist. Narcissists often lack empathy and are unable to understand or acknowledge the impact of their behavior on others. Accepting this reality can help in moving on and healing from the experience. Seek support. Talking to a trusted friend, family member, or therapist can help in dealing with the emotional impact of the silent treatment and the lack of closure. Again, support groups or online forums can also provide a safe space to share experiences and connect with others who have gone through similar situations. I kind of hate the term safe space. It's been way overused, but in this case, it's accurate. Practice self-care. Engaging in self-care activities such as exercise, meditation, or hobbies can help in reducing stress and improve overall well-being. So with me, I had already started dabbling in an extreme body challenge, which is now turned into full-on MMA training. I do that 3 days a week. I may go to 5 days a week at some point, depending on how well I do over the next year or two, or over the next year. We'll see how it goes. But that has helped me a lot. It's helped me to maintain my physical conditioning. Because here's the thing, I did start weight training because I was going to weight train and compete in strongman. Because there's the thing, that's what she likes to do, right? So I was doing that not only for my own physical health, obviously, and it won't hurt, but I was doing it mainly to support her as an interdependent partner, because that's what I always look for in relationships, interdependence. You have independence, you have codependence. That's the lowest form. That's unhealthy. You don't want that. You have independence, which is okay. It means you don't need each other. That's fine. But the greater one is interdependence. That's your highest level. That's where you don't need each other. You're fully able to support each other or yourselves, but you are choosing to support each other in your own interpersonal growth. So that's what I was doing. That's what I was attempting to do. I tried to prove to her that I would do pretty much anything for her. And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because she doesn't get that. She never will. She would never do that for me. Never. And she's proved that. So I guarantee you she never contacts me again in her life. Guarantee it. Which is no skin off my nose because I found a way better person when it comes to that. And that's the other thing. Like I said, the narcissism negates all of the positive traits that you saw in that person. All of the positive traits that you saw in that person, the narcissism wipes all of that out. So that's really a good way to think about it and get over that grieving process of like the potential that person has and like what, we could have been a fucking power couple, but oh well, like a real one. But, and talk about that would have totally fed into her narcissism if we were together doing that stuff for years. And then this happened and then I embarrassed her. Oh my God, it would have been awful. So I would like to think that I would have picked up on what was actually going on way before that happened and addressed that with her immediately. But, And like I said, I would have liked to think if I wasn't in such a vulnerable and trusting state, I would have picked up on that earlier, figured out what was going on, because my subconscious brain knew what was going on. It knew something was off, but my conscious brain was too vulnerable and too trusting to pick up on it. So, and I gave her a lot of power in that relationship that, obviously I've now taken back, because you didn't have power that I didn't give you. That's how that works. So, and you guys got to remember that if you're ever in a narcissistic relationship, any power that they had over you is stuff you gave them, and you can take it back like that. So, all right. Practice self-care. Engaging in self-care activities such as exercise, meditation, or hobbies can help in reducing stress and improving overall well-being. Taking care of oneself can also provide a sense of control and empowerment in a situation where you may feel helpless. Focus on your healing. Set boundaries. If the narcissist attempts to contact you, it is important to set boundaries and maintain no contact. So, I hate the silent treatment. It is all about abuse and control. As an empathic person, I would never, ever do that to another person. However, when it comes to a true narcissist, you have to cut them off. You have to. Otherwise, what they will do is continue feeding off of your energy, off of your emotional pain, off of your trauma. They'll just keep doing it, and it just feeds their soul. And they're literally like energy vampires, to put it bluntly. It's really, like I said, it's a really miserable way to live. It's a really awful way to live. End of life does not look good for narcissists, but they don't see that. They don't care until it's too late. So, and it will be too late for her. I mean, if she doesn't get the help she needs, it's gonna suck. So, and that's not my problem anymore. Responding to the narcissist's messages or attempts to contact may give them the impression that you are still interested, which can lead to further manipulation and emotional distress. In her case, good luck manipulating me, honey. I'm fully aware now. Like, I'm not that vulnerable guy that you met. So I've got that wrapped back under control. I'm now that strong individual that I always was. You have to block them from social media because they will stalk your page. They just will. Especially with me, I post everything publicly anyway, because one filter for me that helps a lot is if I wouldn't post it publicly, then I shouldn't post it at all. So I post everything publicly, but I blocked her on that, so she can't see it. So there's ways she can still see it. All she has to do is get on another profile, create another profile, and she can still see my stuff. I'm not worried about that stuff. She can feed all she wants. Don't care. It's not going to impact my life at all. So my life is awesome. I've got everything in my life put together. I was just looking for the cherry on top of the cake, and I thought maybe she would be it, and she's not. So, seek closure within oneself. This is what I had to do. While closure from the narcissist may not be possible, seeking closure within oneself can be empowering. This is partly why I'm making this video. This may involve reflecting on the relationship and identifying areas of growth or learning. Making this type of post, for example, it can also involve forgiving oneself for any mistakes made and accepting the situation for what it is. So yes, I made some mistakes. They were very minor mistakes. They weren't mistakes that I would have ever made again, and I will never make again because I'm not that vulnerable guy anymore. So, just is what it is. And, one of the things she mentioned was that, I'm glad you said you would never do that again, because you can't make that promise. Well, there's certain things that I would never do again. So because I never did them before, I've done them now, I saw what happened. I don't make the same mistake twice. I really try not to make the same mistake twice, and I usually don't. So, example, I made it to 40 without getting with a narcissist. Somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I did. So, and I won't get with another one. Let's see. And that's at the end of the day, you just, I'm sad for her, but I also laugh at her because it's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. It's like really sad and pathetic, but what are you going to do? Above all, don't blame yourself. Remember that the narcissistic behavior is not your fault, and you did not deserve to be treated poorly. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and recognize that leading from a narcissistic relationship takes time. It is important to keep in mind that dealing with the aftermath of a narcissistic relationship can be a complex and ongoing process. Seeking support and practicing self-care can help in managing the emotional impact and moving towards healing and recovery and a stronger, successful relationship with a new partner. So, since she's reading this email repeatedly, I'm betting that she's probably also reading the last one I sent her and comparing the tone to see if I was stable or, changed my tone or anything like that. And let me pull up the emails I sent her, and I'll read you a couple of things from them. So the first email that I sent her, trying to reach out to her and, out of concern for her, I said, "Dear her, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to reach out to you regarding some things that have been on my mind since our relationship ended. The last 5 months has been a time of self-exploration, questioning, and healing for me. It is my sincere hope that you take these words to heart. When we first met, I was at the most vulnerable and tumultuous place in my life after the death of my partner. I give you my trust, even with first-time which is the most vulnerable and trusting thing a man can give, and it bonded me even harder to you. You passed every quote-unquote test except the most important one, willingness to work through hardship. Unfortunately, I felt that you did not work through the challenges that arose in our relationship, and it left me feeling hurt and heartbroken. You said that you loved me, that I was always safe with you, and then you ripped my heart out. You took a piece of me with you that I honestly don't know if I'll ever get back. I must admit that I had a lot of self-blame for a long time, but I've come to realize that I did not deserve to be treated as an object for your own gratification. I did not deserve your mistrust, gaslighting, and projections onto me, regardless of the lack of intent to do so. I did not deserve a lack of resolution or a lack of face-to-face communication. I did not deserve to be thrown away like a piece of trash. I did not deserve to need therapy to move forward. I gave you the space and the benefit of the doubt for so many things because of what you've been through. I know you've been through a lot, and I saw your deep insecurities to the scared little girl at your core, terrified of being rejected should people see you. I loved you with all of my whole heart in spite of yourself, and I thought you were the one. I thought you had chosen me too. Whatever red flags you saw in me, I now know was the direct result of your own hypervigilance to me bearing my soul to you, and the fact that you mistook that hypervigilance to be insight. I've struggled with this too. But the difference is I've fortunately been able to recognize it at least the majority of the time. I would have gladly spent the rest of my life with you and supported you on your personal growth through the healing of your trauma and pain. I watched you struggle with your narcissistic anger, watched you sadly let it win, and I still loved you. I didn't drive to your house and demand you talk to me. I didn't stalk you on social media. I didn't badmouth you to your friends. I hope your friends would see the truth, truly support and encourage you to get help and become a better person and a partner. It turns out that thankfully I am not narcissistic. Objectively, in testing, I'm around 19% lower in narcissism and Machiavellianism than the average population. I have zero psychopathy or antisocial or sadistic traits. The empathy quotient is a 60-item questionnaire designed to measure empathy in adults. My empathy quotient is 47 out of 80, meaning I have a pretty decent amount of empathy, even if it's not super high. For example, 30 and below may get into the potential autism spectrum. Now, I should preface that people that are autistic don't have low empathy, so don't read too far into that. It's not like they have low empathy. So I worded that a little, could be taken wrong, but I'm human. I have a really good handle on anger. The test even suggested that I should possibly be more angry at some things. I can't even remember the last time I was actually angry. I get frustrated sometimes at situations, usually something that I can't understand, but it's objectively not anger. I suppose I just don't get angry because I understand where people are coming from and empathize with that. My top 5 strengths as tested are honesty, kindness, fairness, love of learning, and judgment, so that makes sense. I've come to realize that without an interdependent partner involved in strongman, there is zero reason for me to compete or train. While I enjoy and appreciate the sport, the only reason I was interested in competing is that I knew it was important to you and we would be able to support each other. I was truly excited for the future. I know exactly where I stand in that I don't need to compete for social validation or be seen in a certain light. The truth always comes out in the end anyway. But now, without you as a partner, I would rather focus on MMA. It's expensive, but has greatly improved my flexibility and coordination, and I'm excited to see the constant progression over the next year. I've proved time and time again that I'm certainly not a scared little boy as you wondered and possibly projected onto me when we first met. At the end of the day, the only competition that matters is competing with yourself to be a better person than the day before. I've noticed that throughout MMA training that includes jiu-jitsu, judo, elements of Muay Thai, strikes and kicks with hands, feet, elbows, and knees, and grappling, I've simply been able to remain calm, relaxed, and logical. I've missed updating you and that level of support from someone with a similar mindset. Same with my first match. I paired with a guy my size with far more experience, and I was surprisingly able to win on the ground through submission after 5 minutes. A big part of that was thanks to Strongman Steve's strength coaching. I was able to keep a clear mind and ignore my military training instincts when I picked him up completely off the floor while he had me in a hold. Again, I proved to myself that I'm not the guy you projected and feared me to be. I hope you took my last email to heart, because basically what I'd done is I'd sent her an email when my therapist and I finally figured out what was going on. I had laid out all of the things that she would say, and then all of the directly observable traits that I observed, and then ordered them in the order that I observed them. And what I did is because I didn't want to come off as attacking, I reworded them. And this was back when I thought that she'd adopted narcissistic traits from past traumatic relationships, which she might have, but now I think she's a full-on narcissist, unfortunately. And I laid them out as, have you ever run into, because she is bisexual, so have you ever run into a guy or a girl that said these things and that exhibited these traits? And instead of, she did or she said, I said he said or he did. And I gave her concrete examples from, what I had observed. And I'm sure she read that repeatedly, who knows? But clearly that did not get through to her. So, it might have resonated with her, but, it didn't get through to her. And I highly doubt she let anyone else read that email, because they would have immediately been like, yeah, he's right. There's something wrong with you. You need help. So I hope you took my last email to heart and read it in the caring manner I intended. I have learned that narcissistic tendencies can look and feel a lot like ADHD, and treating symptoms caused by narcissism with ADHD medication can make you feel cracked out, quote unquote, as you had indicated. So, when we were together, she had started taking medication for what she thought was ADHD. Now, could be ADHD, totally possible, but with the narcissistic traits that I've witnessed, and I did some research on that, and that should be in the research that I post. Narcissistic tendencies can be confused for ADHD, so that's an interesting thing. And one of the tell signs is that the medication for ADHD doesn't work on you and makes you feel hyper and cracked out. So, cracked out, which is her phrase, not mine. So, so that's another tell that this probably is what it is. So, there is no shame in asking for help, and you've clearly proven that you can commit to self-improvement I encourage you to seek professional help if you feel like you need it. There's no shame in asking for help, and you've clearly proven you can commit to self-improvement if you so choose, which she can. She can do this. She can improve if she wants to. She has to want it. You've come so far in your life, yet the trauma you've been through and the narcissistic traits you've adopted are two very powerful demons, and only you can decide what you want to do with it. Ignore it, continue leading a partly empty life on dating apps, banging random people and attracting actual narcissists, or realizing what actually matters in this life and have a loving, supportive, committed relationship, whatever that looks like to you. I had to realize that I want to be with someone who is willing to work through challenges and hardships and is committed to building a loving and supported relationship. I'd rather be with someone who's not everything I'm looking for versus being with somebody who's very nearly everything I'm looking for, but is narcissistic and won't overcome these tendencies. My partner and I have some physical compatibility issues that I honestly don't know if we'll ever be able to resolve, but she is such a beautiful soul that I want her in my life regardless of the incompatibilities, or if she ends up finding a guy who wants children, because she doesn't want a child. Life is full of possibilities, and I'm truly enjoying the journey. While my partner does admit she's looking for a guy who wants children or a child, I'm not looking for another partner. There's been twice where she said something that triggered me to run, but then I realized she didn't have a pattern of behavior, and my triggers were because of leftover trauma from you. I've come to realize that I'm too afraid that I'll find someone like you again, and that what I'm looking for also means they might be narcissistic. I'm working on this in therapy as well, and I have to believe I would have seen the signs earlier and been able to address it with you before it consumed you had I not been in such a vulnerable and trusting state. I do miss our connection and feel disappointed that we haven't been in contact. I hope that we can find a way to reconnect in a healthy and respectful way. Please know that I care about you. I want you to know that I've been struggling with some feelings lately. I feel as though the universe brought us together for a reason and that we have a special connection. However, I also know that this may just be my own obsession, and I don't want to come across as creepy or intrusive. I've noticed that the smart history on my car's GPS suggests your address as the destination at least once every 2 weeks, and there's no way to delete smart history items. This is true. It's annoying. This is frustrating to say the least. I respect your boundaries and understand that you may not feel the same way. I wish we could talk about this face to face and have an open and honest conversation about our feelings, especially with a licensed therapist as a mediator, since I know we can both be pretty coldly logical. I hope this message reaches you in a meaningful way. Please know that my intention is to not make it all about me, but rather to express my heartfelt concern for you. I believe that you have the potential to be the incredible person I fell in love with, someone who is strong, honest, practical, but yet also caring and compassionate. My love for you will always remain, despite any pain that may come with it. It's important for me to let you know that I don't want to fall into the same patterns of behavior that I've seen from you. Instead, I want to break that cycle and lead with kindness and empathy. I truly wish the best for you and hope you become the person you are meant to be. Sent from my mobile, please excuse the brevity, spelling punctuation. So, then after the incident at Reggae Rise Up, which I posted in another video, which you can see, I sent her this email. So, the name of the email was, I'm kind of glad this happened, to be honest. And I said, when I looked over and saw you, I wanted to run away or scream at you for what you did, but I tried to be the bigger person, just be present at a concert and be civil. After yesterday's therapy session, I was finally able to feel anger towards what you did. I wrote everything down, which I did. It was a lot of hurtful stuff, but I had to let that out. I had to actually feel anger at her for what she did, sit with it before I could move on, and let go of that self-blame. So, I'm not going to send it to you because it would be self-serving and only hurt you. And I'm better than that. I had a momentary lapse in judgment, and it wasn't even anything worrisome or serious for a normal person. I assumed a couple of things that I shouldn't have, but overall we had better communication than pretty much any other couple I've known. But that wasn't good enough for you, because apparently nothing ever will be. You might be attracted to me, as you confirmed in your email that the attraction is undeniable. So when she did respond finally to that other email that I sent her, she did admit that the attraction was undeniable. So, but as you confirmed in your email that the attraction is undeniable, but through your actions, I have to wonder if you even know what love really is. It surely hasn't seemed like you love me, as you don't do what you did to someone who loves you, especially someone who's admitting fault and trying to make amends. The unmitigated gall that you had at saying I crossed your boundaries. Do you even know what boundaries are? Boundaries are something we have for ourselves, that I will not do X. Boundaries have nothing to do with what another person will or will not do. Agreements are between two people, and I honored our mutually agreed upon agreements to the best of my ability. So this is something a lot of people get confused, boundaries and agreements. Boundaries are things that you have set in place for you. For example, I will never sleep with someone if the first time, and I feel like they might be a potential partner. I will never sleep with someone if they or I have been drinking. Won't do it, right? That's a personal boundary that I have that I will not cross. That doesn't mean that, she can't do that, right? My partner can't do that, he or she. That doesn't mean that. An agreement would be, hey, let's both agree that if we have both been drinking and we're looking at a potential other partner, or bringing into let's say a three-way, that we don't do that until we're all sober. That's an agreement, right? Because agreements and boundaries can be renegotiated. Rules cannot. So rules are very, very bad. Don't do rules. I even dropped off your blanket, pillow, coffee maker, toys, etc. that you'd left at my place because I'm not an a-hole who just throws other people's stuff out. I didn't demand to talk to or bother your housemate to ask him what the heck he thought was going on with you. I didn't drive to your work and demand you talk to me. Yeah, because we passed. I could have easily turned around and followed her, but that's creepy. Don't want to do that, especially as a guy in our society today. It's going to look bad. The optics on that will be bad. The fact that you were trying to justify me talking about her sex life in a video to your friends as a reason you can't trust me is insane. I was very careful not to talk about too many details of her sex life, especially on video. I said the bare minimum to defend myself against your veiled accusations in order to try to get them to see you needed true support and help, not just hype men. Remember when housemate made the crack about how I heard you know about big d***s and you told him to shut up? Yes, I picked up on that and knew from that interaction that you had told him about me. Unlike yourself, I have no insecurities when it comes to sex, so it wasn't a big deal to me. I tend to talk about sex a lot. We never made an agreement not to, for the obvious reasons that you appear to be fully confident. Apparently, this was overcompensation, or you're so determined to avoid personal accountability that you're lying to yourself so convincingly and you believe your own lies. Remember when you sent that video of us f***ing to your friend? Again, I assumed you were comfortable with your sex life. You didn't even show me who you were sending it to. That would be considered really disrespectful at best, but I was an adult about it, as I don't need to worry about something like that interfering with a job. So, I used to have a rule, a boundary, that no videos, no pics, none of that, because, you know, they can interfere with a job. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, you know, that was something that she wanted to do. I was okay with it. I truly doubt you're in therapy. No therapist worth their salt would suggest cutting off communication unless you made them think that I'm the narcissist, which is a classic narcissist move. Or you have a therapist who got into the field to fix themselves for the wrong reasons. That happens, unfortunately. I've seen it. And you should get a therapist who actually challenges you. Cutting off communication, or the silent treatment, is all about abuse and control. Look it up. I finally told you how you made me feel over email, and only you. Did not send it to anybody else. I could have easily spammed that to every gym that she goes through and their contact lists, because all of that's public record and you can find it. It's not that hard. You don't even have to be a stalker to find that stuff. So I finally told you how you made me feel over email, and only you, and your immediate activated response had no trace of empathy. When you said no and walked away, it made me realize that you might be an actual narcissist who will never see the harm you caused. Actual narcissists don't change. They simply can't. I was worried I might be and was projecting on you, but I'm objectively not, which was a relief. The good news is I doubt I'll need to spend much more money in therapy. I'll check with my therapist, but I don't think we need to meet, as I highly doubt it would do you any good. I now doubt you're even capable of empathizing and realizing what you did. You pushed a good man who would have done almost anything for you and tried to prove it away. I took all the blame for the incident. I thought I wasn't strong enough to set the record straight with you, but the reality is that the fact that I was a big enough person to put my own feelings aside out of concern for your well-being makes me stronger, certainly stronger than you. I am done taking blame for an exaggerated action that I did not do. I am done taking blame for some damaged person's non-checked hypervigilance and demonization practices. I'm done holding out hope that you'll wake up and realize what's right in front of you. I am not going to jeopardize the relationship that I have now by letting myself wait for you and hope you figure it out. I won't let you hurt another person through me. I truly hope you become the person you should be. If you don't, not everyone is as strong as I am, so please just don't get into another relationship, as you very well might ruin that guy or girl and further the cycle you're still choosing to be a victim of. You don't need to worry about any further correspondence from me, not that you needed to anyway, since you could have simply blocked me. And if I see you in public, I'm not going to be a dick. But at this point, right now, in this moment, I honestly hope I don't run into you again. I'm not even that angry, just really, really disappointed in you. I thought you were better than this. And honestly, I hope I never run into her again. So that's the end of my post. I may record other videos on relationships in general, but it won't be about narcissism or anything like that, because I'm done with that stuff. I've had my life experience on that, and it's time to move forward and keep being awesome. So I will cite my sources. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different sources that I used to back up this post. So anyone who's reading this and thinks that I didn't research it, well, check the about page. It'll show you. So, and I highly recommend looking into this if you haven't already. So have a great day, and hope this helps at least one person. If it helps at least one person, then everything I went through is totally worth it. So, yep. Have a good one.